Good afternoon to all. Hope I am audible. Am I audible? Yes. Okay. Good afternoon to one and all. Today we are in the third day, session 2 of FDP on academic writing. Today we have with us Dr. Anitha D, faculty in data science, Tyagarajar College of Engineering, Madurai. She received her PhD degree in adaptive education systems from Anna University. She is having more than 17 years of teaching experience. She worked in Department of MCA and Department of Data Science. She also undergone various certifications in various courses in teaching learning. She published more than 25 research publications in various journals, international conferences, national conferences, which are indexed in SCI as well as Scopus. She received two best paper awards in the international conferences. She is an associate editor for various journals like JIT, and she is a review member of IET. So welcome you, ma'am. Your contribution in teaching learning as well as in the research definitely will helpful for us in today's session. And thank you for accepting our invitation to be a part of the FDP on academic writing. Welcome you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Hari. Hope I am audible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Let me stop.
You can share the presentation.
Yes. Is it visible, Dr. Hari?
Yeah, visible, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I record my appreciations to the research team of St. Joseph Engineering College for having organized this FDP, and my sincere thanks for inviting me for this session. And I also must appreciate every participant of this program. I can find nearly 90, crossing 90. So it is a very good effort that you are able to give your 5 days in attending such an FDP. So my sincere appreciations to all the participants here. And I assume that I can see many doctorates also in the list of participants. Hence, I assume that this topic would be familiar with your own experience. So I think we shall plan this session as an interactive one. Can we? Can I get few responses?
There are many research scholars also, ma'am.
Also, yeah, I can find. Yeah, yes.
So you can focus on them, particularly
sure.
for this topic. Yeah.
Sure. Yes. So I would do that. But actually, the main reason for the need of interactivity is this session is placed after the lunch. So probably we can make it this interactive so that we are in remote ends, so we can have a discussion, right? So with this prelude, let me start my session. So this is going to be our session outline for the next 90 minutes. We'll start with the initial step and how to frame the content of the article and how to prepare a draft and journal selection and further journey until the acceptance of the manuscript. So we shall start with a quote of Albert about research. Research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. So research, actually research is a word called research. So we are not going to see that what everybody cannot see, but in a different perspective. So with this thought, we shall get into this research article writing session. So I think I can launch the poll, right?
Is it possible for you?
It's visible for me, and there is
Yeah,
a
you
launch
have to.
button there. So
Yeah,
shall
yeah,
I?
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So my first question is, how many research articles have you written?
I request the participants to select the option available in your screen.
So I can see 60% of
I
participants.
request the participants to give the option in the screen, not in the chat box.
Oh, there are empties in that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. So I'm getting 81 crossing 85. That's great. In an afternoon, in a third day session, it's quite a good amount of response. So out of 130, I find, let me stop this poll once I have a century. So let me wait for our first 100 as so if we have a century, we shall go ahead. Good smile in our face. So 93, 94, we are in yet 5 more responses to move. It stopped at 95. Okay. Okay. So I'm ending this 100% answer. Right. That's great. That's great. I have 99 now. And one more to go with our first 100 for this afternoon session. Fine, that's great. Thanks a lot. So for this 100, I get 39% of yet to start. I'll just share the results to you. Hope you can see your results in your screen. So 8 to start is 39 and less than 5 is 35. So I have a good score of around 74 here and 5 to 10. Okay. So let us move on. So what's my question is, how many research articles have you written, right? So as I have told you earlier, research is somewhat to be seen, not to be seen by the others, but in a different perspective, right? So okay, I'll move ahead. This is my poll question. Next poll. Hope you find the difference. How can I launch the next poll? Should I move that? Okay.
I launched it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so now I think you have a specific word. How many of your research articles are published in Scopus Index journals in the last 3 years with you as first topic? So again, as it is a more specific question, so we shall again go by 100. So I have 92. I'll wait for another 10 seconds for your answer. Okay, that's great. So now look at your results. So it is 8 to 65% and 22%. See, 90% of us lie in the first two. While it's with a specific or a very broader question, we had a different result. And when it is a focused question, we had a different result. So this is one good example. Why should I am talking that research is something that you see, but not others have seen. So our research should be in this way, being specific and being focused and finding out what others do not see. Right. So let me move on with our sessions. So my first agenda is initial steps. So these are the steps that has to be followed before we start writing a research article. Even though my topic is research article writing, I like to share these initial steps because these initial steps can give you a better result while you go for writing a research article, right? So before you start writing, so now assume that now you are ready with the research problem and you have done some scientific or statistical you have a set of scientific or statistical outputs with some experimental after doing some experiments or some comparison study. Hope you're ready with something. So you are with some research problem, you have done your experiment and you have got some results, right? So with this, because at least for a research article writing, we should be able to match with these prerequisites, right? So when we are ready, what should I do? Can I open a Word document or should I open a LaTeX and start typing? So this is the first question that we need to address. Start writing before the completion. Yes, you have to start right even before you complete all the tests. It is not necessary that you have done all the experiments, packed everything, got the results, and you are going to do experiment it again. No. Whenever you get a result and whenever you experiment, start writing. So why should this be done? Because when you start writing, even before you have a consolidated result, it may give idea so that your result may take an entire direction. For example, the first research question that I have, how many of your articles have you written? So if this is my experiment,
Madam, you're not
yes,
audible.
sir.
Yeah.
Am I not audible?
Uh,
Yes, am I audible, sir?
Participants, can you please respond? Is it audible? Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Continue, please.
Kindly interrupt me if it is not audible, please. Okay, so it gives you a new idea. And also, it can even change your partially set up experimental design as well, because you have not packed up your experiment. So you can acquire necessary framework to test these ideas. So it can give you a new idea and it can facilitate you to create new experiments to test those ideas before you consolidate an experiment, right? And also think and experiment again in a different perspective. So always feel free to write even before completing your research article, because it may help a lot in getting a very different idea what others cannot see. The next one. And once you do everything and you are ready with all the results and you are convinced that you have done a different research that is unique from others, you need to decide the completeness of your work. Am I complete? Am I ready to start the article writing? So we have to measure few parameters to decide the completeness. We must check for appropriate result. What is my intended outcome? What have I got? So I have to check for the results, and even negative results can be part of academic research. Absolutely, it is admissible. There is an example because once upon a time, the cholesterol uh, is thought of as an unwanted entity in our body. But after few research studies, now we understand the need for cholesterol in our body. So negative results can be a part of academic research, and there are a lot of journals that support negative research. They welcome negative results and they publish the negative results. So even negative results can be part of academic research. So we do not worry about negative results. So check for the appropriateness and do not worry even if we get negative results. And check for the significance of the results, whether really your experiment is going to produce something that is significant to the field where you are working in, significant to the society, what you are contributing to, and significant to the work that has been previously published in the same domain. So check for the significance of the results. Are we going to make some difference or not? So this is what that we have to decide. And once if you are not satisfied with your significance, again you can go for step one. You can generate new ideas, you can test those ideas and again generate new results. And also please compare it with existing research, right? So that yours is unique and does something different than the others and achieve something, an extra mile, that is it. You can even support their findings, but with another statistical study, a different perspective. So that is the only thing it is expected. So compare it with existing research works and choose data analysis method that may sound unique even with similar experiments. The same type of experiments may be performed in some other papers as well, some other scientific experiments as well. But we shall go on a different perspective with a different data analysis methods, and we can produce a different result or a result that can be seen in some other perspective. So it is not that you have to entirely different from the community, entirely different from the research that going on in your field, but your approach should be different. So that's the thing that I'm trying to say with the completeness. And finally, we need to consolidate the results. So final point is now decide the completeness. Are we ready? Are we ready to publish our? So once you feel that you are ready, we shall move to the next. So our first step is start before even before completion, you can start writing and decide the completeness of the work. And the third important step is drafting a title. Title is very essential, right? As our name is a title of us, it's very essential. So we have to choose best words that match your research. For example, I have 4 options here. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It's a study that tests the use of clickers. That is, it is a technology-enabled tool. I hope some of you would have known that. You can make it up with any other technique that you are doing with your domain. So it is actually an classroom testing. They are performing an investigative study with a tool called clickers in an English language. So they are writing and they have obtained some results with the student performance, and they are now with the result and they are ready for a typing. So let us name it as 1, 2, 3, 4. So do not be misguided with this underline or bold. Just tell me what is your favorite title, 1, 2, 3, or 4. In your chat, there is no poll for this. Please tell me what is your favorite title. The research is about using a tool called Pickers and using this technology in English classroom. So what's your choice? What would be more appealing? So many of you with 2. And some of you with 1, 2, 1. Okay, that's great. I'm able to find many ones and twos. Can I get a reason why do we avoid 3 and 4? Any idea? A question mark. Okay, question mark. Those are both. They are not starting the study type. Yes, of course. Okay. Right. I accept the point of Haulamida in stating that it is not study type, not specific, possibly about 3. Okay, how about 4? What's your idea about fourth one? What makes you not to choose 4? Because none of you have selected 4 and everybody goes with 1 and 4. Why not 4? A very general research using a thing called blinkers in technology starts with a can word. 4 is fine, but cause of question mark we know, fine. Right. So I can find few responses. Why have you not chosen the second part? Fourth one. Right. So, okay, before sharing all these things, let me give you a few hints on how to draft a title, right? How should the title be? Should be describing the topic and hence it should be predictive enough. From the title, we must be able to understand more about what is written in the research article. So it should describe the topic and hence it should be predicting as well, right? And it should describe the method of study and reflect the tone of writing at what tone that you have written. What is the thing that you are trying to study? It should be reflecting in your title. And third one should be catchy enough to instill the interest of the readers. So it can be a question, it can be a statement, anything, but it should be catchy enough. There is no rules that question should not be in research article, right? Research article title. No, it can be catchy and to instill the interest of the readers. And it should have important keywords yet concise with 5 to 15 words. So this is very short hints of how should the title be. So now coming again with this, when I ask you to choose between 1 and 4, what would be your choice? Given these hints, when I ask you to choose between 1 and 4, what would be your choice? That is. Okay, one of you, Ashwin has answered 4. Others? I've given only 2 choices, 1 and 4. At last, I find more number of 4s here. Yes, thanks for your responses. From my experience, when I'm given these 2 titles, I would go for 4 because it tells me the method of study, what technology that I'm using, even in the title. The first title talks generally about use of technology in English language teaching, learning, and experimental study. But the fourth title talks about technology as well as an investigative study with the technology of clickers. So it's more specific and it's more predictive, and it's catchy enough to instill the interest also. And when I ask you to choose between second and third, what would be your choice? 2 and 3. Only 2 or 3? 2. Yes, of course. It's 2, quite visible, quite clear, very general. Third one is very general, but the second one gives you the use of clickers in language teaching and learning also. So if I'm given the option of choosing between these 4, I'll go with 2 or I'll go with 4, as it is more predictive, more describing, giving the method of study. And when I given the choice of 2 and 4, I'll go with the 4th one because it looks more catchy to me, but it may not be to you. So both tell the same meaning, but this is a statement and this is a question. So that's the difference that makes it. So the people who love statements will go for this. The people who love questions will go for this. And it is nothing wrong to have this type of research article. Can technology assist in English learning? You can add a hyphen between this one, an investigative study with clickers. This is my recent title. Is long-serving teaching experience a barrier of transformation in online teaching and exploration? So after reading this title, many of my colleagues have regarded me that the title itself triggers an interest to read. So by choosing a best title, you can first attach the reader to you. It may be an editor, or it may be a reviewer, or it may be a reader after your manuscript is published, but your title is going to serve a lot. So what would be a recent research title? Can you type it in the chat so that I could get more ideas on what are all your ideas for the recent research title? You would have published, or you would be making something ready with some title, right? So I want that title. At least 1 or 2. Because I understand typing title in mobile in a chat window is going to take a long time. Impact of digital marketing in healthcare sector. Yes. So I think now you can have a better look at your title. How can I change it? A review paper on manufacture of construction material. A study of locally available natural fibrous reinforcement as an alternative building material. Get to start. Yes. So thanks for sharing. So I'm not here to comment your title. I'm just giving hints. How can you improve your title? Now it's time to for you to again revisit, and you can get your own title. You can refine your title as well. Right. Thank you. So next important word is immediately after title, we'll move with abstract, right? So usually we, every research journal would ask you to give the abstract in 150 to 250 words. So we can readily make an abstract between 150 and 200 because some journals require only 150 words. So when you are ready with 200 words, then we can make it up to 150 as well. So we are now going to draft an abstract now for your paper because we have all the results ready. So now we shall make ready and make an abstract ready. So while starting the abstract, we should always start with a present general scenario, a contextual introduction. That is what starting with present general scenario. So this is how. So we shall not start our work immediately. So we have to set our context. Why should I really need that? So we have to start with a present general scenario and now drag the reader or drag the reviewer into your focused area, right? And once you drag them into it, now talk about your part there with an indication of a research gap or a motivation for your research. Why should you want to do this with this scenario? So you have to start with general scenario, drag into focus area, and talk about your part with an indication of a research gap. So this is where we have to find a gap between what is really needed and what are you trying to do, and give statements for your experiment with methods. Now start. So this is the thing that I have as a motivation for this research. To attain the motivation, I'm going to do this experiment. So we have to give statements of our experiment with the methods there. You need not give a very detailed description here. However, these are the general parts that has to be touched in an abstract. And finally, we have to append your main findings. So no detailed findings, but however, we have 1 or 2 sentences to append our main findings. So these are the 5 requirements when any person look into an abstract, because a good abstract always attracts a reader to download your paper and read, and always attracts a reviewer to further go and read your paper to give positive comments. So our abstract is very much important in attracting the reader and as well as attracting the reviewer. Even when your journal is going for an editor pickup, this was going to help you a lot. So this is an abstract sample from one of my recent papers. So this talks about using an teaching learning methodology in mathematics. So I have started with mathematics, so general scenario, and I have taken it to dragged it to a focused area. Why should I go for this method in this maths? And then I start what is actually needed. Why this research has to be pursued? So talk about my part with an indication of research. So I demanded a systematic implementation in mathematics for enhancing problem solving skills. So I really want that. So this is a general scenario of mathematics and what is being done and what is essentially needed and what my paper is doing here. So give statements of my experiment. So I'm giving a very abstract statement of what course with how many students and what is its division and what is used for measuring and what is the technique. So analyze with statistical techniques. That is. So if you are proposing or if you are using any algorithm, then you can specify that as well here. And next is adding a summary to the end. So from the results of type, so this and this was found and this result as a catchy thought. So that has to be presented. This is a significant result. So focus the significant result and present it inside the abstract. You need not give anything in numbers, but however, give your main findings. So these are the statements that going to make your abstract very attractive, right? Am I making myself clear? Shall we go? Right. So with the need of paper title and abstract, let us move with my next board. Yeah. This is not a survey. This is a quiz, actually. You have one right answer. We have a total of 174 participants now. That's great to see the number. And the response is also increasing. I know this is a very tough time for you to listen and respond. Um, Again, I'm aiming for our second century. Okay, so I'm settling down with 91. end the poll now. I think 53% of participants have participated in the poll. That's really a good number. And poll. Thank you. So the sharing of result is 42 for first one, that is allow the reader to accurately assess the credibility of your research, allows the readers to easily access your article, ensures that the authors have a clear understanding of their outcomes, helps the author to organize the research and discussion. And the correct answer is A. It allows the reader to accurately assess the credibility of your research. The best reason, I'm asking about best reason. So it will give you, because the abstract is for the readers and reviewers. So as an author, I have a clear understanding. As an author, I can organize the results and discussion. But however, the abstract is very important for the external people who are trying to access our papers. So among these top two reasons which allows the other readers, this abstract, why should I contain my main findings is accurately assess the credibility of your research and include your research as a part of their citation. If everything is clear, then our research study can be included in others' research work. Thank you. So let us move on with the next thing. After writing abstract, we have written for a research article, we have chosen best title and we have written abstract too. And keywords is a part of abstract, and keywords, we usually have 5 to 6 keywords. So those keywords have to be chosen. If chosen from the abstract, then it is well and good. It can be chosen from the title also. So arrive at the theme of your research work and put those themes under keywords. Abstract and keywords are twins that what you can think in pairs, right? So I have framed all those things. Now I have to write the paper, right? So I have to start from the introduction session and go till references, conclusion and reference. But before that, even before introduction, I have to collate all my results. I have to construct all my results. So first I have to construct my results. All my figures and tables are to be made ready even before you start your introduction, because it will give you a confidence of what I have done, and it will give you a correct route map to start with. Where should I go? What should I write? What should be the next step? So you can always collate or consolidate your results in the form of figures. So figures, generate suitable figures with correct captions. If it is a graph, please check whether all your axes are labeled with appropriate legends. Because usually many of us are visual learners. We love to see pictures rather than too much text. So once you make a small mistake in the visuals, then the impression of the total thing will be playing down. So we have to be very careful about the figures and tables. We have to be careful about the entire research article, that's true. But we have to be more careful about the figures and tables rather than the text. So our first attention has to be on figures and then tables. And all the tables should be having appropriate captions and appropriate parts, well marked. Our system architecture should flow. If you are drawing a system architecture, then all the parts should be marked and everything should have a flow. Similarly, if it is a graph, all the axes to be labeled and it should be with appropriate legends. And if you are using a graph, then the selection of graph again has a major impact. Which type of data that which graph has to be present, we have to work on. And maintain a good quality of figure. So always have a good quality of figures and store them separately up as a TIFF or PNG file, because many of the manuscripts, journals require these pictures to be uploaded as a different file. And they often look for TIFF or PNG. So store everything there. So use a high resolution software package. You can go for Adobe, but use a high resolution software package so that your the quality of figures is good. And about table, you have to generate all tables populated with suitable values, but do not replicate the data in both table and figure. So this is for filling up the pages. We might be having an intention of doing this, but please do not do that. This will totally shatter our impression. So the thing that cannot be visualized can be put up in table. The thing cannot be put up in table can be visualized. So you can have a balance between these figures and tables, but do not try to replicate the data. And one suggestion is try incorporating all statistical analysis in tables, the results of your significant results, all those numbers you can try putting up in a table. And for every figure, caption is needed under the figure, and for every table, the table name is needed above the table. And also the name of the figure and name of the table is very important. I should not just put significance results. No, significant result of what? So we have to be very specific in giving the caption. So this is another thing that we need to understand. But these are the things you can do always when you have partially 75% moving into the article. But however, before writing itself, we have to be ready with the figures and tables, right? So if we are ready with all these things, now we shall go for writing the main body of the research. So my first half is over, 45 minutes. So I'll go with main body of the research article. Are there any questions now? If there are any questions, please post it in your chat. We can have a discussion on those questions. Otherwise, I'll can always post your question there, and you can take all the questions for discussion. So I think I can go with the writing the main body of research article. Hope many of you, even though you are research scholars, you would have read many papers before writing any paper. We have to read many papers, so you would have found these things. Any paper would be starting with an introduction and goes on with literature review, then formulation of research questions, then methods and materials, moving up with results and discussion on the results, followed by conclusion. And if you have anything, anybody or any forum to acknowledge, you can acknowledge and followed by the reference. So this is the different flow of any research article, as we know. So when we start writing the main body of your research article, we have to find points for all these sections so that we write a complete paper. Hence, to identify these sections, we have to put a roadmap, right? So we have to give a paper outline. So I have to first decide upon what are the different sections should I have. Am I going to have a separate introduction session and a separate literature review, or I'm going to combine introduction and literature review? And I'm going to combine discussion and results, or I'll be having a separate result section followed by the discussion section. These are the different things that I have to decide and then start writing. So identify different sections of the paper, what we are going to write. For example, and add sentences to focus in each section. In an introduction, for example, in the introduction, we'll be having a general scenario, like how do we write abstract? So same thing has to be here. In introduction too, we have a general scenario, context, present solutions, motivation behind the research. So this is an example. So we have to add sentences to focus in each section and add results, tables, and figures in appropriate places. So once we have everything ready, we have results, we have tables and figures, everything ready with us. So we have to put up in the appropriate places. So first we have to make our paper out. Just identifying the sections and what are all the things I have to write. Just an indication, marking of what should I write. Okay. And check the flow of paper, whether it sounds good. You have not added anything, just identify the positions of everything. This is where I should place this. This is where whether it goes good. The flow of the paper is good. Okay. Then I can move on with the writing. This is not the first checking. This is the initial check. I'm sorry, this is not the final checking. This is the initial checking. So we have to go a lot more to complete the paper. Right. So I think it's time for you to, for me to wake you up with my next quote. What is your style of writing research article? You'll start from abstract, then write introduction, then go with literature, then methods and materials, then your research, discussion, conclusion, references. Is that your style, or got start and go anywhere? What's your style? Hold on. Only two options. I think this is a simpler question in my board. Only two options. %48 participated. Okay, 50%. So I'm settling with my half century now. I'm not waiting for my 100 responses, but I'm happy with 50% of responses. Right, that's great. So I'm getting 95 out of 175, 96, 97. Okay, so I'm ending the poll by now. If you're seeing your results, 69% of you have the habit of starting from the abstract and going sequential, and 31% of you have a habit of starting anywhere and completing something and moving to another section. Right. Thank you. So my answer is, what is best? You can always have your own style. Anything is best until it suits you. You can start from abstract and go sequential, or you can start anywhere. It's not that you should only start from abstract and go sequential. This is not a rule. Whatever is more comfortable with you, you can go away. My comfort zone, my comfort zone is start and go anywhere. I don't go really with the introduction part immediately after abstract. I have a very abstract actually. My thing is, I do not have even a complete abstract in my first attempt. I'll go with methods and materials first. Usually my first attempt is methods and materials. Once I'm very clear, or once I'm very much satisfied with my interpretation of my methods and materials, I'll move with the results. Then I'll go with discussion and add suitable references, whatever that I want to add with the reference discussion. And only then my last item is introduction. Usually this is my style, but I do not recommend this to all of everybody because it's your style to choose. But we have to be comfortable enough, and we should be happy enough in writing a research article. So if it is something stuck in you, you just stop it and you can go anywhere and start writing it. So there is no hard and fast rules in writing in first draft. So you can start anywhere. Try writing the full paper once and go for editing. Do not try for a perfect paper in the first section itself. I have written introduction. I should have a very good introduction, and only then I'll move for the next section. No, please do not do that. Give a try for the full paper with the first draft. You can write whatever you want, place everything, and then please go for editing. Also, if it's going to take more than 4 or 5 days of writing a full paper, then you can go for partial editing. Here and then you can go for partial editing. But however, our sincere suggestion is to try writing at least full paper once, even though it is not of good English or it is not comprehensive, but try writing the full paper once and go for editing each every section that you can sculpture everything, right? If too long, as I have said, it is taking 1 week long for writing a paper. I'm not able to give my uh, uh, complete attention, or it is very long paper. I'm not able to complete. Going too long, then editing shall be done in specific sections first. For example, experiment design can be done and it can be made satisfied. Okay, I have done whatever that I have whatever I have experimented. Then results and discussions. So you can concentrate on specific sections and then move for other sections. So as of now, we have talked about how to draft a title, how to write abstract, and writing about the main content of the paper, different sections. So even before writing the sections, you have to consolidate all the results and then plan each and everything to make a first draft. Okay. So in the first draft, we have different sections, right? So we'll move with the introduction session. What are all the different things that we need to consider while we write an introduction session? The first thing is start from a general scenario, mapping with the research paper title and state why it is important. Why this research study is important in this scenario. Why is this scientific experiment has to be studied? Why this drug has to be analyzed? Why vaccine has to be developed? So we have to state the importance of our research problem. Only then we can put a connect to our research and the societal need, right? And move on by identifying different sets of frameworks and solutions already available. So we have done an research work and you can specify few generic solutions that are available. You can quote references here, you can add citations here as well. But too much of citations in the introduction will make it as a literature review. So we can just plant some solutions and frameworks. These and these are available for addressing this problem. So we have to identify different sets of frameworks and solutions and available for that problem. And now this is a very important part on introduction. Find the motivation for our own research from this context. What is the present scenario? Why am I here? Why should I doing this research? By identifying what is lacking. What is actually lacking in the research area? So why am I doing this? So it need not be a rough literature review. It has to be a set of very general statements, quoting some citations and preparing the reader for your research. Oh, yes, I can understand. This is the motivation that this researcher is trying to do. So it is a very, what shall we, it need not introduce about many tools and techniques. Many algorithms need not be discussed here. But however, the general scenario and overall solution for this problem and what is lacking has to be presented. And finally, present the objectives of your current research for what you are perfect, what you are trying to get it as an outcome. So present the objectives of your current research. So this is going to make up our introduction, right? So this is one of my sample introduction. What the paper that I have given you as a title is long-serving teaching experience. So I think you can. So this paragraph states, starting from education scenario during COVID, why we have to move to the need of accessing online teaching tools. So I have started with a general education scenario and moved to pandemic time, and why do we need a transformation to online tools? And here I have addressed what is the problem in transformation. Why can't everybody move simple to the transformation? Why can't everybody have a very simple transformation? Why can't everybody take a tool and learn it by themselves and do it or excel it? It's not so. So what is the problem? Why is it happening? So what is my research trying to do? And finally, I do have some citations here. So use of technology tools. I'm not so specific, but I'm saying that there are some personal factors having an impact. So this study tries to find out the answer for this with this question. Is long-serving teaching experience a barrier with appropriate methods? And so this is how an generic introduction session could be. need not introduce too much of literature, but however, it should give the core of the problem what we are trying to say. So this is the part where we can pack our readers the interest to read our paper more. The next session is literature review. According to the sections, we are now moving to introduction. So we have written introduction in our paper. Now we are moving to literature review. Now we are moving to general to focus. So I have few literature studied from general. Then I am taking slowly to the focused solutions in the same domain. So I can talk about some COVID-19 impact, and I should talk about the impact in the education, and then impact in the teaching. So I should take one by one with appropriate literature, right? So, and I have to identify the research gap. In these literature works, this is done and this is not done. Why not done has to be done? So that has to be specified. These researchers have done this, but not this. I'm doing this, but why? What is the need? And how do I actually do that? How do I fill in that? So this, the questions or the answers for all these things have to be filled up in our literature. So you can have in one of my sessions in writing these literature review, we had a question. Literature review should we have 30 to 40 or 50 work to be presented, or should we have 5 to 10? And again, in our view, it can be balanced. But however, even if you have 5 to 10, it should be very focused to the problem, and it should be more closer to the problem, and it should be drawn from the recent resources and good journals. If that's the case, then 10 to 15 article study is enough to make up a good literature review. However, if not the case, you can add as many literature that you want, and you can group it up. And for example, for a single point, I have 10 references. Can always quote that. However, for the same point, and only for that point, I'm adding references, you can avoid that. So I can have 4 or 5 good journals to point one single point. So we have to move from general to focus. I have to identify research gap. This is very important while you present a literature review, and how this present study is going to fill in that. So these things make up our literature review. So, and this is one example of my another work, online coding as a formative tool in programming courses. How do I use an online platform as a formative tool? So I started with what are all the existing formative tools. I collected some literature work that answers this question. Then I stepped to the next one. As I talked about programming, what are the good formative assessment tools in the programming? So why should I use this formative assessment? So I answered what are the solutions and why should I use those in programming? And I started studying about automated assessment tools because this is my research area. So I talked about automated assessment tools, and then I have identified these things are not made possible so far. So I'm trying my attempt using these solutions to complete my research problem. What is my attempt? So this is an example from this paper. Similar examples can be quoted from any of the research papers that you read. So if you, from this moment or onwards, when you start reading any research papers, especially in the literature review, please find for the flow. Where they started and where they have focused, where do they find some research gap, and then what do they infer from that? What is their attempt to fill in the gap? So this is how we should proceed in literature review, and because this will give a confidence to the reader, to the reviewer, as well as to us that we are doing good, right? So this is the second part. After introduction, we'll go for literature review. And in this literature review, there are so many things that you have to add those to the references, and you have to add those in the citations as well. And there are a lot of automated tools now helping you in framing these research papers. And next is third part is research questions. So we have to formulate few research questions. There are three key attributes in the research questions. One is specificity and originality or novelty and general relevance to a broad scientific community. So these are the things that are essentially needed when you frame some research question, right? So we'll have a research question here, right? Please ignore this one. Second one, you can find two questions in your poll. Choose a good research question. What do you find? This is good. Which of the one makes you to feel that you have a focused research? I have a very good research. So we have 36% of participation, 36% of responses now. Which research question that you feel that it is good, focused, specific, satisfying those key attributes? I have quoted three key attributes, right? Specificity, novelty, general relevance to community, right? We have 44% answer. And so let me close the poll when I get 50% of we have 48% now. 49%. Okay, I'm ending the poll now. That's 49%. So we are into okay, 50%. Thank you. We are into a 3:30 session, right? Quite tough time. Fine. First research question is 49% and second is 51%. So when I choose first as a research question, so let us assume that when I choose first as a research question, I'm going to write down. So what effect does social media? How many social media are there? There are numerous social media, right? Which one should am I going to use in my research? So we have to think about it. But in the second question, I have specially focused on Twitter. So my research is if only on Twitter, rather than the first thing of social media, I'm using only Twitter, right? So I'm just replacing social media with Twitter, but now my research is focused. So my research question is more clear now. Anybody can relate to this with the general scenario rather than having a general question. And also the next part, have on people's mind. People's mind. Who are the people? The people, when I talk, when I pronounce the word people, it involves a newborn kid to an elderly person as well. So which people are in my focus? While the second question specifically focus on the attention span of under 16. See, they are talking about different parameters. Impact of Twitter, that is also daily use of Twitter. So I can correlate how much time that a user uses Twitter daily, and I can gradually correlate with the attention span of under 16. So this research question gives me a clear idea of what is my experiment is all about rather than the first question. So please understand your research question plays a very important role. This is a very general question. I do not have a specific focus on social media, and I do not have a focus on people, and I'm just talking about people minds. But mind contains various things. So in the second question, I'm adding only attention span. Even this is again, it can be taken for the second revision. But when comparing the two, this is a good research question. I'll not claim this is a best research question, but this is a good research question. Okay, next coming to this, what is the effect of newly developed basin? Can we uh, rewrite this with some meaningful research question? For example, recently we are administered vaccines, but it is restricted to children under 18. Okay, so if it is in restriction, there should be a research question on them, right? So what is the effect of newly developed vaccine on the so and so features of people under 18? That should be the research question that they would have developed rather than this, right? So only with that research question, the research has to happen. What is the effect of this new medicine vaccine in rat? What is the effect of this new medicine vaccine when administered this much of times in human? So this is how our research question has to be focused and formulated. So it should not be specific. Please understand, right? Yes, that's fine. Specific vaccine name to a focus population, even which characteristics of that population is being affected. What are you going to measure? So we can add so many points so that we make our research question a weighted one. That's it. That's great. You are with many suggestions. That's really great. Right. So now we have formulated our research question, and it's time to formulate our next topic, methods and materials. Right. So methods and materials may differ in many experiments. So I have listed only the needed items that are to be present in methods and materials. First, we have to describe the context and the setting of the study, which area for which type of environment that I'm going to try for what. So I have to set the context in the Indian context or US context or Mangaluru context, right? Bengaluru context or South Indian context. We have to set the study for what type and specify the study design. What type of study that I'm going to do? I'm going to do a qualitative study, quantitative study, observational study, experimental study. What study that I'm going to do? Okay. Then I have to describe the population, what set of population I'm addressing in. For example, this is all about examples. So which is the population that we are trying to address? It can be a data set. It can be in healthcare unit. It can be in agriculture. So what is the population that you are trying it? And reasonably, we cannot use all the data, like we cannot get all the data. So what is the sampling strategy that we are using? So we have to justify that and describe the intervention. How are we going to connect with our population? What type of intervention that you are going to? For example, I'm going to, I'm having a machine learning investigation with agriculture. So I need some images of the agricultural crops. So how do I get the images? You have to describe the intervention. If I'm going to get, do some text analytics, so how am I going to get the text from the people? So these are the different things that I have to tell in the methods and materials. How would the intervention? So if applicable, please find possibility of adding intervention always. And also identify the main study variables. For example, in the previous research question, we have talked about um, uh, the study daily use of Twitter, the effect of daily use of Twitter in the attention span of students under 16, right? So our main study variables is student under 16, right? And what is my parameter? It is daily use of Twitter. So these are to be the main study variables that are to be identified. And we should also describe the data collection instruments. Am I going to get the images from a repository, or I'm going to take my own images? I'm going to collect my own videos, or I'm going to use a central repository, or I'm going to use my interviews, or I'm going to administer an survey. So we have a lot of data collection instruments. So I have to choose from which. For example, if I'm doing a research in speech recognition systems, I have to collect voices. So how do I collect voices? Do I have my own samples, my own South Indian languages? So all these things have to be given there with appropriate procedures. Very detailed presentation has to be there, because only then the reviewers will understand that this experiment is genuinely conducted. Unless otherwise we state everything in detail, the people who are assessing our paper will not be convinced of the completeness of our experiment. So they should be convinced of, yes, exactly, these people have done this experiment. Hence, so much of details is given, even minute details have been added. So this is how we should bring the confidence into those reviewers for having our papers accepted, right? And we have to outline the analysis methods also. What are the analysis methods? Which algorithm? Which accuracy measure I'm going to do? And which statistical analysis packages, tools that I'm going to use? Which tests that I'm going to use? What are the hypotheses that I'm using? So everything has to be stated in methods and materials. Nothing can be left here. So please, as much of information as you have, but in a clear language and in a very understandable context, right? And once you are confident enough to write these methods and materials, we shall move into research. So in a very short afternoon, we have written introduction, literature review, research question, and we have come even to results. So results, we are just going to tell what am I getting? What do I get? I don't interpret, right? So objectively report what you find without speculating on why you found those results. So please do not start justifying your results in the result section. Just give your results as you got them. Okay. And you can add some description. You can describe the results of the experiments that are being completed, but you need not add the interpretation of results, right? And because all these interpretations are to be marked only in the discussion session, so anything that you want to discuss in the discussion session, those results must be added in the research section. So it includes all the data that is relevant to the discussion section. So results, in the results part, we often expect non-textual elements, graphs, pictures, mostly charts. So everything which are displayed in non-textual elements are more likely. So try to include all your figures and tables in this section, result section, right? So once you report everything that you find without worrying about the results, then you can go to discussion session. So results will answer only for the question, what do you get, right? Now discussion, so what? So we need to find the answer. I have got this. So what? What are you going to do with this result? So we have to describe, with this result, I interpret this one. So it summarizes and interprets the significance of my finding. If my graph goes up in one region, I have to make that as a discussion point. If my accuracy for one algorithm is getting down, I have to make it as an interpretation in my discussion. If I'm not getting my expected result for one set of data, I am going to include that in my discussion. I'm getting an expected result in all the sections. Again, I'm going to summarize and interpret that. I expected this has happened. But this expectation has to be compared with the similar previous research works. So these research works have done so many things and got this result. I have done this supporting, or you can even offend. You can defend the existing work or you can offend the existing work. Those works have shown this. I have added value to them, or those works have shown this, but I do not get the same. I have a different result in my context. So you can even fix up the context. In the US context, it is works good, but in the Indian context, I get a similar, I get a different result. So we have to compare with the similar previous research works. You can get even a contradictory result, but however, we need to have a discussion. And implications of the current research study. What are all the after effects? What are the consequences of the current research study? So what are the things that you infer? So everything has to be presented in the discussion, and we must understand no new results are to be introduced, because all the results have to be incorporated in the result section. The discussion only interprets those results, and you have to include the previous research works here. And here you can reject the hypothesis or accept any hypothesis. You can defend your argument, or you can put a contradiction to the existing argument. So everything can be made in the discussion only. In some of the papers, we have results and sections as a single section. It is also admissible. When you have very fewer results and few discussion to be made, then we can combine them also. It is admissible. I do have papers which has separate results and discussion section. Also, I have papers which are accepted by SCI journal, which has same results and discussion section. So anything is good, but when you have many results to be put up in your research article, please go with separate sections for results and discussion. And here textual element can be more and less load on non-textual elements. Too much of graphs and figures is not needed because everything is in the result section. So you can add more text stating their interpretation, right? So this is an example from one of my paper. This is a picture that I take from my result section. This talks about a teacher group and their methods used. And this text element can be found in the discussion section of the same paper. For example, this figure shows the number of different assessment methods. So I'm explaining each and everything. G1 does this, G3 this. Though the visualized data analysis may help, but this has to be made. So I have to move with some extra tests. Everything is performed here. I'm not explaining my research, but however, I'm making a correlation between my result and discussion. So from this picture, I'm talking something about in the discussion and further extending it to the next level of the experiment as well. So I'm not satisfied with this. So I'm doing a next level of performance. So this is all about in the difference between your results and discussion. So we have come till results and discussion, and we are at the conclusion. So we have tabulated everything here, and we come to the conclusion. What are the mandatory things for conclusion? It has to be the outcome of the work by interpreting the findings at a higher level of abstraction, because we had a very deeper interpretation in the discussion session. So we have to put a very higher level of abstraction. These are the experiment set, and these are the things that we have got. And relate these findings to our motivation. Hope we have talked about motivation in the introduction session, right? Why am I doing this? We have to relate these findings to the motivation in the conclusion session. So this is where you put a connect between the first part of your body content, research body content, and last part of your article content. And add the limitations. Every research work has limitations. So please do not conclude that our work has no limitations at all. It is scalable. It can be extended to any framework. No such thing is there. We do have some limitations in all the researches. Please find it out before the reviewer finds out. Once we admit that, yes, we do have limitations, the reviewer is happy to know that, okay, you have assessed the negative part of your research also. So this is where you can actually surrender to the people who are reading or who are reviewing your thing, that I have done an excellent work, but however, I too have my limitations. And then making this limitation as my future directions. So limitations and future directions have to be connected. These are my limitations, but I'm finding ways to overcome this limitation with my next work. So I'm going this way. So this is how we can convince that, okay, a good work is done. However, they know that this is their limit and they are into the next part. So we can convince everybody who is reading our paper by having such a conclusion relating all these things. So four important elements. One is higher level of abstraction relating to the motivation, limitations, and future directions. These are the mandatory items of conclusion. And references and citation, it should be well balanced, current and relevant. Please, it has to be very current. Please do not involve too much of papers that talk about general things. More number of papers have to be cited uh, to the focused point of our research. Education, if my task is, my research area is education, I can take 1,000 papers related to education. But when I talk about as sample technique in education, I can find only limited papers. Take those limited papers and then test. So cite references that are not more than 10 years old, if possible, except a few classical studies. There are always few classical studies in every domain. So we can always include them, however, restrict them. So see to that we have only 10 years old children in our references and citations. And the studies that you cite, this is what that I'm trying to say to you. The studies that you cite should be strongly related to your research question. Please do not take a very broader journal for references or citing, adding a citations, right? So these are the things that we need to remember with references citations. And once we are ready, and we have to know about different citation formats as well, right? Hope you know about different citation formats like APA, MLA, Chicago. So each and every journal are more specific to their journals. How do you write the references? How do you quote the references, cite the references? So you can just follow the journal rules in doing, in framing the references. So I think these are not very technical issues to consider. It is always changeable. We have a lot of technical support to add whatever the references type that you want. Yes. So until then, we have formulated our first draft only. See, though we traveled from introduction to references, this is our first draft only. So all our next drafts are going to play a very important role in getting our manuscript to be accepted. So make major alterations. Do not worry about making major alterations at all. No worries to add or make a major change in your paper. Fill in the gaps, correct flaws, restructure, write in good English. Everything you can always do. You can contact an English speaking person, language expert. You can write your paper upside down. No problem. But the final result would be good when you have the first draft in your hand. So present the material in the most logical order. Please read your paper. That is very important. We have a habit of skipping the reading of our own paper once we have written our first draft. I too have the same weakness. I hate reading my own paper when I completed. Oh my God, I have completed again reading. Oh, it's ready. It is hectic to read. Let the reviewers read. No, it's a major flaw that we are performing in reducing the chances of our paper getting published. So please read again, restructure the document, refine the text, correct grammar, spelling. Nowadays we have a lot of grammar checking tools. Even our packages, our office packages or our latex packages gives you the correct grammar, spelling, everything. So you can polish the style, format document, check references and citations. Please use automated tools for cross verification. But this is the area that where I am very poor. I even do not now use automated tools. I do not use the researcher tab of Microsoft Word or LaTeX or anything. I'm just typing it in the Word. I just want to strengthen myself in this area. And check the final title, keywords, and the following contents. and again get feedback on your manuscript with your peers, with your guide, supervisor, with your friends. You can always get a feedback on your manuscript and revise again and again. So I'm mentioning it as next drafts, not as next draft. It is always plural. So we should make again and again revision once it is before submission to the journal, right? So to remember, we have to maintain clarity and we have to be aware of the recent works, and we have our results have to be original, right? So if we are confident of all these things, our paper is more closer to publish. And we have, I think we have another 5 minutes of time. So I'll have a quick view of journal selection as well. There are some features. We have drafted our paper, right? The next very important thing is journal selection. Though it is not a part of research article writing, I'm just having a, I just have a touch of all these things. Selection of journals. So first I have to make a list of journals for my field and determine their impact and indexing factors. So we have SkyMago. Just put a search in the SkyMago. You can put what are their Hutch index, what is their, where is their role, their SJR value, their impact factor, then what is their quartile, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, where are they? Everything can be got when you go with this database. So just go with the SkyMago, type in the journal that you want and get every factors. Then move on to the journal page. There you will be having many policies, whether open source or whether they are getting any charges, or whether the language is English, or whether they are restricted to some area. For example, some journals restrict themselves to a certain area. So you can have those reading in the journal homepage. Then you can check the journal requirements and workflow. You can decide. Nowadays all the journals are open to talk about their peer review process. How many weeks that they take, how many weeks that it will go to the next test. Everything is put up in your journal requirement. So just check it out. If you want your paper to be published in just 3 months, then go for such journals. From the journal website, you can understand that some of the journals may take longer time and some of the journals may take shorter time. So please read, have time to read the journal requirements and know about the journal peer review process. And there is an important word in every journal, like guidelines to authors. We have to read that. So read that and redesign the paper with the journal requirements. I often get bored with this task. Redesign the paper. I have written everything. Why should I redesign? Why should I change my format? But it is the thing that completes the journey. So once we get tired in this journey, this is the most important final step. So this is like stepping into the last step to a success. So please do not hesitate to take that last step. So redesign the paper with the journal requirements and then prepare a cover letter. This is many journals, almost all of the journals need a cover letter. So you have to prepare a letter indicating the content of article. Please do not just submit, I'm submitting so-and-so paper entitled this one to you. No. Please have, I'm submitting this paper entitled this. Editors can determine with the content of the article. For example, you can say the uniqueness of your, you have to highlight the originality and significance of the research study. So this would have an initial attractors for the editors itself to make your paper available to the next step. So please make a cover letter highlighting the originality and the significance of a research study. It can be a 3 or 4 sentences, but however, this is really important. And some of the journals demand you to find the list of reviewers also. So please find it out from the journal page. If they demand a list of reviewers, please make it happen. There are a lot of journals with editorial board available. You can choose from the editorial board members or reviewers and have a list. So you have submitted to a journal and editor has passed on to a peer review process, and now you receive a reviewer comment. So first task is over, reviewer comment, and this is the next crucial step. First review is over, you are getting a reviewer comment. So take this every word of the reviewer as an opportunity and address every comments of the reviewer with appropriate responses. So do not hesitate to take the good suggestions given by the reviewer. Also, it is not necessary that you should take every suggestion of the reviewer. Because if it cannot be made at the point that suitable justifications can be added. For example, in one of my paper, I have submitted the result of 2 different experiments that are carried in 1 year difference. But the reviewer has asked me for submitting 3 years submission. But I have informed them that this work only takes the last previous work. I have to wait for another year to include my third work. So hence it is not possible at this time to include that work. But however, they have accepted that and uh, recommended that for the next screening. So you can put suitable justifications if the reviewer change cannot be done at that point. So we need not be worried about each and every changes that the reviewer wants to make to a paper. And go for language experts. Indicate the resubmission status in the cover letter. If it is a resubmission, please indicate that again in the cover letter. And we have to be very prompt in responding. This is the one that they are expecting from us. This is one sample that I have taken from one of my papers. How do I responded? I have taken each and every sentence that has been pointed. This is a response to a reviewer one. Similar tables have been drawn for 3 reviews. So I have taken all the comments. So first I have thanked them. So first the statement is the thanking statement. Then I have taken all the comments and I have personally addressed each and every comment, including. So what are all the different sentence rephrase? What are the different reference works that I have added? And what is my response to this? So everything is added. So now the reviewer would be convinced that, okay, all my points are validly taken by the author, and hence I can move positively with the next review. So we have to be cautious in this step also. So at last, we have patience is the key. It's a long time process, we understand. I have completed the entire research article in 1.5 hours, but it's not the case. We know, I too know that. So patience is the key. And once we get everything done, we have another thing called author bio preparation. This is asked by most of the journals. I'll just show you some important points that has to be in the bio. It's current affiliation, research interest, research experience, and journal and conference publications. It is just a count or number of journal publications would do, and significant achievement related to the field and collaboration with research community. So these are some of the points that you can highlight. This is my author bio. I have just 6 or 7 statements, but this is my author bio. And this can be changed whenever you have a good achievement. If you have another milestone, always you can update your bio. So please try writing your bio, even though it is the last part of your manuscript, you can write your bio. And finally, we have come to the end of the journey. Our manuscript is now accepted. Right. So with all this patience listening, I have completed. I hope that I have completed my part in this 90 minutes. I know this is a quick drive over how to write.
Okay, ma'am. Any specific questions?
Discussion time. I think you can even
One
type in your chat what are the key takeaways from this session, or you can share your more ideas. I have given a little. You can share your ideas too, so that a more number of participants can be benefited. I can get more ideas from you.
I think no comments in the chat box. No questions in the chat box. There is one question.
APC charges. kindly you need to look into the journal page to find most of the open source now have APC charges. But these things are to be found out only in the journal page, because please do not trust any other sources other than the journal's original page. Because there are a lot of websites that collectively put information, but usually we don't rely on those websites that put a collective information. You can get the best out of anything only in the journal homepage. So please go about that. And one of you have asked with textile technology. Sorry, I'm not aware of that. I'm really sorry about that. Thank you. So if anything, you can always reach me at anithad@tc.edu is my mail ID. Thank you. Please give your feedback to the program coordinator.
Yeah, sure,
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a wonderful session. Indeed, you have explained each and every phases of research article writing. Let me summarize. You started with how to start the writing, particularly decide on the completeness of the work, draft the title, drafting the abstract, construction of the result, and how to construct the main body of the article. You have explained with your own examples. Definitely this will helpful for the research fraternity. And you have given wonderful examples on how to write the introduction, literature review, methods, discussions, and how to write the conclusions, what are the differences between the results and the discussion. And particularly you have also focused on the need for the clarity and recent words and the originality of the work in the research articles. Your presentation, your session really helped us in getting more knowledge on how to write the research article. Thank you, ma'am. Behalf of the St. Joseph Engineering College, the organizing committee, we thank Dr. Anitha for having the wonderful session. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, you are muted, I guess.
Thanks a lot. Thank you everyone for your patient listening, and I thank the management of St. Joseph College for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
all the best to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you all the participants for joining us. So let us meet tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you.